track, pedal down on the floor. Push it to the top, can't take no more. Get there, since the flag came down. Be here to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways. There, since the flag came down. Be here to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways.
Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. My name is Tom Baker. I am your host for this special edition, and I emphasize the word special this evening as we are going to be rocking and rolling for 1 hour of motorsports news and interviews here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser online tonight. And this is going to be a show that especially for the New England modified fans and fans of the NASCAR type modifieds everywhere is going to be a very special show. I would like to bring in to help me work through the show for tonight, out from behind the glass one more time, tonight's producer and co-host of the evening, Jacob Seelman. Jacob, welcome to the program. Kyle Souza still on other assignment here, should be back with us next week. He fed us some news briefs that we'll be discussing later in the show, and then Kyle should be back in the co-host chair next Thursday. But Jacob, good to have you back, and boy, what a program we've got tonight.
Oh, you can say that again, Tom. I'm completely pumped about tonight's hour of programming that we've got lined up. Just an unbelievable interview that we've got tonight with Mario Fiore, just absolute legend from the Northeast modified world. I got a chance to sit down with young ARCA upstart Anderson Bowen earlier this week. He's going to be moving into a part-time ARCA gig with Cunningham Motorsports for 2014. He's really impressed coming up out of the super late model ranks. And Tommy Barrett taking over Mike Stefanik's old ride for the full tour in 2014 as well on the Whelen Modified Tour. So it's a lot of interesting, a lot of differing developments, but all in all, a lot of content tonight that I know the race fans are going to be looking forward to.
Well, let's get right into it, shall we? We will get to the modified stuff here post-haste, but let's start this evening by talking about Anderson Bowen. And, of course, Anderson, a driver that's going to be competing with Cunningham Motorsports. And Anderson, one of many young drivers in the ARCA Series who really are set to make their mark, and a young man with a very bright future in the sport, it would appear.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I first got a chance to see Anderson race, I believe it was in 2012, during his debut season with the ARCA CRA-style late models. Saw him down at Watermelon Capital Speedway in 2012, and very impressive. Didn't win that day, but came back and scored his first win actually at the same racetrack. He's going to be competing at Speedfest here in just a couple of weeks down there at Watermelon Capital. Didn't get to victory lane at all last year, but he is more driven than ever to break that string and get back to the checkered flag in 2014, get to the top step, and he's very excited about this ARCA deal with Cunningham's too. He finished third in his ARCA debut at Mobile International Raceway last year, so he's got a lot of promise, even if the results haven't always showed it just yet.
Well, you had a chance to sit down and chat with him a little earlier this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
Jacob Seelman for Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com, sitting down for a special featured interview with 2014 K&M Pro Series East and ARCA Racing Series driver for Cunningham Motorsports, Anderson Bowen out of Sewanee, Georgia. Anderson, first off, thank you for taking some time to talk with us, and I know a really big announcement for you and your whole team with getting the deal for 2014 with the Cunningham team sewed up again. You really did make a splash in your 2013 campaign with Cunningham, scored the pole at your first K&M Pro Series East start at Iowa, and finished third in the ARCA race at Mobile. 2013, a little bit up and down for you, but did it live up to your expectations?
Thank you for having me on the show tonight. I'm real thrilled. It really did. We had our ups and downs. I had that big wreck in Martinsville, and I broke my leg at the beach. But, we really did have some really good events. We qualified on the pole for our first K&N race at Iowa, finished Mobile third, like you said. And we had really good runs in our late model, too. And all in all, we had a decent 2013, but I'm just ready to look at 2014 because I know we'll be a lot better this year and hopefully a lot less crashes and incidents like we had last year.
Cunningham's up to the program with you. You're running a handful of K&N East and ARCA races. I believe about 10 races total between the two tours. Looking at 2014, what kind of challenges do you think you're going to face? Obviously, you've come back from the crash that you had in 2013, but what kind of challenges does your 2014 campaign present to you guys?
We're looking at different racetracks. We're going with the K&N Series. We're doing a little bit more races than we did last year. New Hampshire, Bristol, Dover, and all three of those are real tough tracks in the NASCAR circuit. And I'm just really looking forward to getting onto those tracks. Just learn a lot from the crew chiefs and Paul and Chad. All they got to say. I'm really thrilled.
You've come up through the late model ranks and really made a splash in the ARCA CRA series the last couple years. What have you been able to use from the success you've had in the late model ranks that's translated over to your time in the K&N and the ARCA cars?
Well, the ARCA CRA racing, really helped me. It is high horsepower cars with the ARCA series and the late model, just to get used to the throttle management, saving the tires, and those high bank tracks too. We got Bristol coming up. And Winchester and Salem, those are really high bank tracks, those are really historic tracks. And they just got me prepared for all sorts of tracks. My first year in the Jag CRA rookie season, I went to like 27 different racetracks, and just adapting to those racetracks, that series really helped me do that a lot in my 2013 career.
Scored your first CRA win in October of 2012 at Watermelon Capital Speedway in Georgia, but 2013 you ran strong almost the entire year but never could quite seal the deal and get back to victory lane. Was it frustrating for you at all going through the whole season and knowing you were in contention every week but just not being able to quite get there in the end?
It really was, because we had a good top 5 runs, but we just could never just get out front and just fight with them for the lead. I feel like this year you're going to see a new Anderson Bowen just trying to fight for the lead this year. We've got a lot of stuff working down at the shop. We've been practicing hard. We've been just getting stuff ready for this year's speed test. We're really pumped about that. That's where I got my first win. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's fast, no outside wall. It's just really cool. It's a lot racy, so I'm just really thrilled to be back down there again.
Talk a little bit about Speedfest. Your 2014 opener this year, what kind of challenges does the Speedfest race pose, and what's it going to take for the driver who gets to victory lane in the end?
Well, we're getting back into the car. We haven't tested yet. It's just going to be just a big different swing at it. You got a new mindset of things, just new goals. The track is just super fast too, and there's going to be new people down there. It's new years, new people getting into the series, so I'm really looking forward to that. And the challenge is just getting back into the car and just getting back into the swing of things. It's going to really be hard for me. I'm just going to have to persevere through those hard times and just come on with it.
And obviously, not just looking at your ARCA and your K&N Pro Series plans for 2014, but you've done so much at the short track level over the last couple of years. What else is on the docket for you in 2014 besides the national level stuff? Where can fans look to see Anderson Bowen?
We're going to be running, again, some of the CRA stuff. Southern Super Series are going to be doing a lot of those since it's just close to home. But we're going to do like the big races or the ARCA Super Series. We'll be that big. I-44 in Lebanon, Missouri will be there for the CRA Jag Series, and we'll be at the Winchester 400 again, and a couple races up at Winchester, and hopefully to run ORP again in the super late model. I'm just really thrilled for that.
And obviously the re-signing announcement with Cunningham certainly provides you with some stability for 2014. What have you been able to learn from Paul Andrews and everybody over there with Cunningham? Because Paul's going to be back as your crew chief for 2014. What have you been able to take away from them over the last year that you've used to better yourself getting ready for 2014?
I know, he taught me a lot, really. He taught me how to, to manage my tires at Salem, he's just an awesome crew chief, he's willing to listen to you and try different things, and he just taught me all about those cars and, tire management, throttle management, just stuff you have to do just to seal the deal and get the job done.
And obviously, I know all the success you've had over the past couple years and your plans for 2014. Can't do it alone. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Anderson Bowen.
I can't thank Kerry Shear, Paul Andrews, Briggs Cunningham for all the support they've given me back at our home racing shop in Mark, Buckner, Jonathan Buckner, Ricky Turner, and all those guys that just made it happen so far this year to get on the track. I just really can't thank them. Especially, I can't thank my dad, my mom, my sister for just giving me all the support they've given me in these couple of years.
And I know you're looking forward to even more on-track success, looking to get back to victory lane in 2014, Anderson. We wish you all the best as you get ready to start your 2014 season down at Speedfest, and then we'll continue in a couple months when the ARCA Series gets underway. Thanks again for taking some time to talk with us, and we look forward to seeing you on track here in just a couple weeks.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
And Tom, let me tell you, he is very optimistic about Speedfest. They had a rough go of it last year, but Anderson Bowen certainly feels like they can go down for 2014 here at the end of the month and possibly come away with the victory that has eluded them over the last year. I do also want to clarify something from last Thursday's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports report that we just got word of from Cunningham Motorsports. We were talking last week with their other ARCA Racing Series driver, Austin Self, for 2014. Austin going to be driving one of the Cunningham cars full-time, and we said we were discussing Tom Hessert, and Hessert, who has driven the Cunningham car full-time over the last several seasons. We were a little perplexed at the time as to what the reasoning was behind Austin Self getting the full-time seat. Turns out that came at Tom Hessert's request. He's requested to step back from the driver's seat a little bit this season over at Cunningham, going to help groom some of their younger talent for 2014. He will be in the car at Daytona and Talladega, looking for a couple of victories on the 2014 ARCA Racing campaign, however.
Well, and that's all stuff. And, of course, Anderson Bowen with a good, solid team in Cunningham Motorsports. And I think that he's going to have an excellent ARCA campaign. Certainly got a lot of talent. It just needs a little bit of lady luck on his side. And hopefully with the dawn of the new year comes a bit of a different set of luck. And he'll be able to get up toward the front and compete at the level where he needs to be.
Very true, and he's going to have some very good teammates to lean on. Obviously, we mentioned Tom Hessert and Austin Self, a driver similarly out of the mold as Anderson Bowen is. The two of them, very bright young talents. I think Cunningham has got an excellent program going here for 2014, and I don't want to discount Shannon McIntosh over there as well. Going to be making her debut for Cunningham Motorsports in April. They've got 4 drivers with a whole lot of potential and certainly a lot of great leadership over there, not just with Hessert behind the wheel, but also with Paul Andrews atop the pit box, the crew chief for Alan Kowicki's championship run back in 1992. He's gotten it done a time or two.
Well, that's right, and the veteran leadership really helps these younger racers. Shannon's certainly going to be coming into a good situation with a lot of people around her who can kind of help her adjust to that level. So, Cunningham Motorsports certainly a well-rounded team for this year, and should be fun to watch for sure. With that, we will take our first caution flag of the evening here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. And we come back. We turn our attention to the modifieds, and we are going to hear from one of the up-and-coming talents in that division who's been given a significant blessing for the 2014 racing season. Tommy Barrett going to be talking with us when we come back. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. Stay with us. For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at RaceChaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
To have a rivalry, you need a rival. For every David, a Goliath. For every Hatfield, a McCoy.
Every KO, bro.
Needs a Bobby Allison.
For every fight,
A ring to settle it in.
In order to finish first.
somebody's got to finish second.
I hate second. Love your rivals.
Because you need someone to beat.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio.
powered by RaceChaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. Tom Baker with you on this Thursday evening, along with my co-host Jacob Seelman. We are about to talk modified racing, really, for the rest of the show, and we have got a couple of very special guests that are going to be featured here in the next couple of segments. The first of which, Jacob, is a young driver named Tommy Barrett. Tommy really coming on the scene within the last couple of years, just 18 years old, and he has quickly moved up through the ranks from the SK Light Series up to the full modified NASCAR series in the New England area, and Tommy's certainly looking like a driver who has the potential to, at some point in the near future, climb the ladder even further.
Yeah, he really does, Tom. Impressed a whole lot of people on the Whelen Modified Racing Series over the last couple years. Now getting the chance to make the move full-time to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour for 2014. Going to be behind the wheel of one of the most prolific cars on the tour in the form of the Chris Orr Motorsports number 22. Fans will remember that car is the one that's been piloted the last 2 seasons by Mike Stefanik, and Stefanik nearly won an 8th championship this year, came up a little short in his quest to Ryan Preece, but Stefanik scored a couple of big wins on the year, one of them being at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and Tommy Barrett now going to get the chance to bring the youth movement to the Northeast, certainly stepping into very proven equipment, and I would not be surprised to see this young man. We know he's got the talent. I would not be at all surprised to see him challenge for a couple of wins this season. As far as a championship, I don't know if that can be realistically expected in his first year, but definitely a win or two, especially on some of these bull rings that the Modified Tour runs, I don't think would be out of the question at all.
Well, I think Tommy's absolutely got the credentials to win several races this year, and I do actually think that he's got a chance to contend for the championship. LaFontaine on top of the box. Just a terrific combination there of youth and experience, and I really think this kid could go far. We had a chance to chat a little bit earlier today and had an interesting time talking with him. Here's the interview with Tommy Barrett here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. This is going to be Tommy Barrett in 3, 2, 1. Tommy Barrett on tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with us. And Tommy, first of all, for those who aren't initiated to what Tommy Barrett's been up to, who are listening to the show, tell us a little about your background in the sport and kind of how you got into the modified division.
First off, thanks a lot for having me on.
Then I got into it when I was about 5, and I raced to a quarter, so I was about 11 years old. Then I hopped into an Allison Legacy, which is a 3/4 scale cup car, and I did a lot of racing around the Northeast and that, and also a little bit down south until I was about 14. And then that's when I made the jump to modifieds. At 15, I got my first ride in SK Light at Stafford. My dad was actually the car owner, and that's pretty much where I took off because I got 10 wins there in 2010. Missed the championship by about, I don't even know how many points, but on the last race. And, I also missed the first race because I wasn't old enough. And then, then after that, we jumped to the Modified Racing Series. That's pretty much what I led up to last year. We had, I think, 6 wins overall in the past 2 years in that. And, that's where it leads me right now.
Talk about the team that you drove for last year in the series a little bit.
It's a family-owned car, sponsored Victory Lane Bar and Grill, over here in Millis, Mass, my hometown. My dad pretty much did all the work on that. Eric Penn, he's my spotter, Brian Brady on the crew, Eric and Marcus Sturtonick also on the crew. And, it was just a small bunch of us, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, now, you're how old now, Tommy?
I'm 18. I turned 19 on April 29th.
Gosh, you've had a good career for someone at 18, already being in the heavyweight, if you will, modified division. Talk a little bit about your plans for 2014.
I'm really excited. Chris Howard gave me the opportunity to drive his number 22 on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. We're starting the season off down in New Smyrna and Daytona and Speed Weeks. Mid-February, so I'm very excited about that. Brad LaFontaine's the crew chief. He's the best on these modifieds, the owner of Northeast Race Cars. I'm very excited for this opportunity, and hopefully I won't let them down.
I'm sure you won't have to worry about that. You've definitely got the talent. You got to be excited about going to run Speed Weeks down in Florida.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I've never made the trip down there. Actually, I did it once when I was about probably like 3 or 4 years old. We hauled Bobby Santos' modified down there, and I don't really remember it, but I haven't been down there to either Daytona or New Smyrna, so it'll definitely be a learning curve for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Definitely tough competition, but a great way to start the season. Pretty much, if you get down and run anything in Speed Weeks in Florida, you basically get half a season worth of training before the points even start.
Yeah, definitely. Like 6-7 days of racing right in a row. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, it should be fun. What are your ambitions, Tommy? Are you looking to progress in the sport? What are your long-term plans in terms of motorsports?
Definitely. I just want to progress and hopefully one day get to the top level and make a career out of this and a living. Right now I'm at Modifieds 18, so hopefully I can just do the right things, get the right people behind me, and hopefully I can just progress in this sport.
At 18, are you in high school now, or are you in college?
Neither, actually. I graduated from Millis High School last year. I'm just working at my parents' family-owned restaurant, Victory Lane Bar and Grill. Working there right now, and also just trying to focus on my racing career and progress in that.
That just sounds like a great place to eat. It's making me hungry.
Yeah, it is. So, little sports bar restaurant, NASCAR themed.
My favorite kind. Well, I know that there are a lot of people who obviously help you in your efforts here. Give you a chance to talk about each of them a little bit and share.
First, I talk about Mario. He's a legendary modified owner, and we've become like the best of friends in the last 2 years. And I couldn't even ask anything else from him. He'll do anything to help me. He does everything he can, and I couldn't ask for anything else from him. And then my dad. He's been backing me my whole racing career. He's pretty much inspired me from the beginning. And also my mom, my little brother, he helps on the cars all the time. He's been on the crew ever since I started racing. He also raced quarter minutes when I was also a little kid, so we're all in it together.
Sounds like a whole lot of fun, and you've got a big year coming up. Certainly wish you the best going forward with that, and the opportunity to go run down in Florida is certainly a pretty spectacular one for you, and it'll definitely aid you a little bit down there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, congratulations on all the success up to now, Tommy. I know that you have to be pretty excited just the opportunity to race in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. It's a tour that's been around forever. So many stories, so many legends, so many drivers who are really at the foundational levels of the sport, and the opportunity to be a part of all of that for you, and certainly wish you the best of luck in 2014.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being on. That's Tommy Barrett, and we are going to take a break here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. We will be back right after these words. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at RaceChaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by RaceChaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. And Tom, when we went to break, we heard from Tommy Barrett, and coming out of break, a couple of points I want to sew up that he mentioned in his interview. He mentioned how close the championship was at the end of 2013, missed the points title on the final race by 79 points. Rowan Pennock took the title, even though Barrett had one additional win. Pennock was as perfect as you can be over a 17-race schedule. But, you know, I look at the whole situation with Tommy Barrett, Chris Orr for 2014. It's really like a passing of the torch. You've got the most decorated driver since Richie Evans in the modified division in the form of Mike Stefanik. 7 championships, 74 victories. A legend on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, giving way really to an unheralded rookie in the form of Tommy Barrett. He'll be making his first starts in 2014 on the tour. We know he's got the talent, but it almost signals we've seen the youth movement take over in multiple divisions in NASCAR and across the country. It really hadn't hit the Northeast until this year, and I think that youth movement has finally arrived.
Well, there's no doubt of that. And it's kind of been, in my mind, I think it's been a little bit long overdue in the modified class. It's been a while since we've really had an influx of young racers. We've always had a few, but it's been a while since there's really been a lot of them. And actually, with Ryan Preece getting his opportunity now, not only with Tommy Baldwin in the Nationwide Series for a couple of shows last year, but also in the NASCAR Next program, I think we've kind of opened the can of worms, so to speak, now, or paved the way for drivers from that division to be able to be looked at a little bit more seriously. And you've got drivers like Tommy Barrett in the class and some other guys that possibly emerge this year as well. I just think that there's a real opportunity here for the modified division, and I think it's a division that for a long, long time has really not gotten its due when people talk about NASCAR and talk about their developmental series. So really hoping that Tommy will run well and maybe get an opportunity down the road, because I really think that the modifieds are a viable stepping stone and a very challenging car to drive. So I'd like to see more drivers from that type of car, from that series, be able to get an opportunity to move up in the sport.
I agree. Let's move to some news and notes. And I've been monitoring the Twitterverse over the last couple minutes, and believe it or not, there's actually been breaking news out of the NASCAR Whelen Southern modified ranks literally just a few minutes ago. Want to make it a point to announce that Joe Ryan Osborne has just announced that he will be running the Southern Modified Tour as a full season entrant for Rookie of the Year and for the Points Championship. You and I have watched Joe Ryan race over the past couple years at Charlotte in the Legends car ranks. He's very talented. We've seen him get it done on some of these bull rings. A huge boost, I think, to some of the young talent in the Southern Modified Tour, and a division that has sorely needed some car counts for 2014. You look at this and go, all of a sudden, we're getting some of the talent back, not just in the North, but the South as well.
Yeah, I really am happy to hear that. Yeah, and there's another example. Joe Ryan has more than proven himself in the Legends cars, and I think he's had some good runs in the late models as well. I think Joe Ryan being involved is definitely going to be a great thing for the Southern Tour. He's a really fine young man and a very talented racer. That's a real nice surprise. That was not something we were necessarily expecting, but you're right. That's definitely going to be a super addition to that group. So let's take our next commercial break here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. When we come back, get set. This is a long one. Mario Fiore had a lot to talk about earlier this afternoon when I spoke with him, and you're going to absolutely enjoy this look back on Mario's career and also his thoughts on Tommy Barrett as well. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll go straight into our interview with legendary modified car owner Mario Fiore. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. Stay with us.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at RaceChaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by RaceChaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. Tom Baker along with Jacob Seelman, and we are privileged this evening to have a guest on the show who, for me personally, was one of the legends of the Northeast modified scene when I was growing up in Oswego, New York in the 70s and 80s. The number 44 Mario Fiore racing car was always a prominent part of any modified race at the Big O, and Reggie Ruggiero behind the wheel, and all the success that they had, Rick Fuller and some other guys as well. Just a real pleasure to have Mario Fiore on our show this evening. First of all, Mario, welcome to the program. Talk a little bit about just how did Mario Fiore, let's go all the way back, how did you get started as a modified car owner way back in the day?
Well, okay, Tom, thank you for having me on. And, I was going to college. I was a photographer, actually, and I was taking pictures and making some good money selling them. So I had a little bit of a bankroll at the time, and some friends of mine approached me that they had an opportunity to buy into a car that was nearly complete, and they needed another partner. And at the time, it was $300, and at the time, it was no problem. Today, it might be a problem.
Be a little more than $300.
I had a pile of money, and so anyways, I bought into the race car, and the best thing about that was it came with a driver, and the driver was Gary Colturi, who was, if he ended up passing, he died on his motorcycle. He was life in the fast lane to the max, and maybe it was too fast. We had the late model car in 1969. Over the winter, we built a really nice 69 Chevelle, and this was like 1970, so it was like a really current car, and we won 13 races with that car, and it seemed like the money was flowing, and I ended up quitting college. It was way more fun running a race car and making money, and so we decided we were going to go modified racing, and we built a modified Pinto, and it was called Screaming Yellow Zonker. And our first year was at Riverside Park. We ended up winning the Cars Championship. Gary finished second in the driver, but the driver that beat him ran two different cars. So our car was the issue called Manufacturer's Champion, like they do in Formula One.
Sure.
And we won that championship in our first year, and the next year started out real good. Gary won the first extra distance race of the year, and he ended up getting killed on his Harley Sportster in June, so it sort of really put a crimp on things for the rest of the year. We ended up getting Louis Toro to drive. We redid the race car. You know, it wasn't the Screaming Yellow Zonker anymore. We just changed the color and came out at the end of the year, and we went to Plainville Stadium and won the big 100-lap open show. And that was sort of the beginnings of my racing.
And, of course, as the years went by, you had the occasion to get hooked up with Reggie Ruggiero. How did that come about? Because the two of you had an awful lot of success together in such a period of time in the modified division with so many of the legends, and I'm sure that you just have a million stories, and we'd love to hear some.
Well, with Reg, we were taking our cars to the Plainville Stadium. Used to have these 100-lap open shows that paid good money, as opposed to the weekly racing that they did. And we would go with our race car, and we were more of it'd be like a cup team to a nationwide team. We were from Riverside, and we usually had better equipment than the guys that were regulars at Plainville. And we couldn't beat Reggie. He would beat us all the time. And that was 75. So 76, we were going to get a new car. We were going to upgrade all of our equipment. And we needed a driver. And I figured, my ego's not that big. If you can't beat him, join him. So we asked him if he wanted to drive on the race car. We had the latest and greatest from my buddy Richie Evans. Richie had built 3 chassis for himself, and he only used 2 of them. And he knew we were looking for a new race car and called me up and said, come up here, we'll work something out. And we ended up getting a chassis just like he was running. And we had sponsorship from a Chevrolet dealer, so we couldn't be a Pinto, we were a Chevette. And Reg finished second the first time he drove the car at Riverside. Started last, it was handicapped. Went through the field, just missed winning the race. It was like, oh boy, we really got ourselves a driver here. And then the next week we went back back, we used to have the Triple Crown there because it was the end of the year. It was August, and by the time we got everything done, and he was leading the race, and lap car got him. And we come back the next weekend. We won the middle. They used to call it the Triple Crown Series. We won the 150 lapper. And we went to Plainville after that. We won 3 races in one day. They had 3 30-lappers, and Reg won all 3 of them. So it was quite the beginning with Reg and that Richie Evans Chevette. And we ran that for 3 years, and we won 25 races with it. And then it was sort of, we really needed the big-time sponsor to get off the quarter-mile tracks onto the half miles like Stafford and Thompson. Then over the winter of '81, we cut a deal with Danny VC, Danny's Market, and he wanted to go big-time racing. And Richie hooked me up with another car that he had built for Mark Malkat the year before. We got a brand new Hunter big block, and our first race was a Spring Sizzler, and Reg ended up third. And we ended up winning 6 races that year, our first year racing against Jeff Bodines, Richie Evans, Bugsy Stevens, all them guys. And it only got better from there. We were able to keep things going. We got sponsorship from Miller Beer in '84, and Teddy Bear Pulls came along and towards the end of '86, and with the Teddy Bear Pull car, we won 60-plus races in 3 years. I mean, we averaged better than 20 wins a year with that car.
Wow.
We couldn't win that NASCAR championship, though. We finished second 3 years in a row. One of them we lost on the very last race to Michael Stefanik. It was who finished ahead of who, and we ended up getting a flat and coming all the way back, and Reg caught him, and just didn't get by him. And we lost the championship by 1 position. But it was a lot of fun. Teddy Bear Pool years were probably our best. A lot of success, really good sponsorship, a lot of product deal. Economy was booming. The racing, the economy was booming. It was really a good time in the industry.
It was a good time in the industry, and it was just a really magic time in the modified division, although it did go through, obviously, the rather, ugly downside in the 80s where we lost a lot of drivers. But, I mean, that period of time, the Jeff Bodines, the Richie Evans, the late 70s, early 80s, just so many legends of the division. And it just seemed like wherever the modifieds were racing, it didn't matter if it was Oswego or, a track in New England or even down here at some of the races at Hickory or Bowman Gray, wherever. They're just, you would always have a caliber of driver or several drivers that were just legendary. There were so many really, really good, hard-nosed, talented, aggressive drivers in the division at that time. And of course, the personalities of some of them, we can start and stop probably with Richie Evans, but just so many. It was a great time to be a part of the sport, was it not?
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of those drivers that are legends was based on the fact that they raced so much. You're constantly hearing their names, no matter what. We were running 65 to 70, 75 times a year. And I'm not taking anything away from the kids that are racing today, because I really believe they're every bit as talented, but they just don't race a lot like we used to. And those were high-profile races. I mean, we're at Martinsville 3 times a year. We're at Pocono, Oswego, Richmond, Watkins Glen. I mean, they don't go to places anymore. Besides the New Hampshires and the Bristols that they have now, those venues we would visit. We'd know going into the season we're going to be doing Pocono, we're going to be doing Richmond, we're going to be doing Martinsville, Rougemont, all them places. They don't. Even IRP, we went to IRP. So I think it gave, and the other thing was the tire competition. They had Goodyear and Hoosier going at it, spending money like you can't believe. It was a great time for the car owners, because obviously we benefited from the free tires that the companies were throwing, and it caught national attention because anybody had a race car was more than likely on a Hoosier tire or a Goodyear tire, and it created an interest. Everybody wanted to know who's winning the races, Goodyear or Hoosier, and modifieds. And when Goodyear packed up their tent and went away in the winter of 2001. Actually, it's 2000 because they were gone from the sport, from our division by 2001. Took a lot away from the interest, from the national interest. Everybody's on Hoosier now, so I think that was a big part of the drivers becoming legends because everybody took an interest. And now the kids are good drivers; they really are. I'm there. I watch them all the time. They just don't get that national exposure as much as back when we were racing 70 times a year, all over the place.
Yeah, again, those were just great times, and of course, you finally got the cherry for your career as a car owner in 2000 when you were able to win the Whelen Modified Tour Championship. That must have been awfully sweet after so many years of being so close.
Absolutely, it just seemed like it was the perfect storm. It was our second year with a Troyer car. We'd never had one before, and we finally had got all the bugs out of it. Our engine program was up to snuff. We got a brand new 18-degree engine. We had Jerry Marti driving, who's a great point driver because he's got the patience. He avoids accidents. He was our driver that year. I think my crew had matured, and we had everything going that year. We had a lot of sponsorship. Our engine program was up to snuff, and we ended up winning it on the last day at Thompson Speedway at the World Series. And the race leading up to that, once again, was at Martinsville. And when you're on live ESPN on a Saturday afternoon, it can create some interest for the next race. And Reg won, Cherry was second, and you got that build-up going into the last race. And when we got to Thompson, that place was overflowing. And there was a lot of interest. We're the Hoosier cars of Reg and
sure.
Jerry Marti. And Rick Fuller was still in the battle, and he was a Goodyear car. So going into that last race at Thompson, coming from Martinsville and being on live ESPN, there was a lot of interest. It was great. It was like a carnival atmosphere. It was awesome. The weather was great. Crowd was overflowing. It was one of the best days I ever had.
That's awesome. Just the perfect way to top it all off. And then you were telling me that into the 2001 season, it just, for you, okay, I've done that, and it was just time to go.
Yeah, after we won the championship that night, one of our sponsors was Longview RV, and they let us use a dozen motorhomes. So we had our own little compound and everything, and we all stayed over that Sunday night, and it was like, boy, what a relief. I don't have to get up and do anything tomorrow. We won the championship. It's over. Thank God. There's a lot of stress, pressure going into it. It was just a relief. And I was sort of ready to end everything then. And, my two full-time guys figured that was their best opportunity, use the championship as a springboard to move to Charlotte, go on to bigger things, which they have. And they're working in Cup and Nationwide. And Goodyear leaving over the winter took a lot of the enjoyment. We got nobody to beat anymore. They were gone. Some of the guys, they wanted to keep racing, so it was like, okay, we did the race car, had the motors all freshened up, went to the first race of the year in South Boston, Virginia. We won the race with Jerry McKee, and it really didn't do anything for me anymore. It wasn't like, we beat Goodyear because they were gone. My two crew guys had moved on, and the enjoyment was gone, and got a long trip home from Virginia, and it was like, man, this is probably a good opportunity to exit stage left, and we were able to liquidate everything very quickly because car was all redone, fresh, motors were freshened, and obviously it was a hot item. We had just won the race, so bing, bing, bang, and that was it.
Wow.
And end the story.
It's amazing how quick things can change like that, and it seems like you just kind of made up your mind that, better now than delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, I'm proud of the fact that we went out on top. That's the best way to go out. We won the championship, came back for one more race, won that one, and it's like it's just a good opportunity. You know, it's I could see that the economy, it starts first at that level in the racing when the economy starts to hit. The product deals, not so much on our end, but they were starting to shrink. You know, there were no new deals coming along. Our old deals weren't getting any better. It was really tough. We spent the winter trying to come up with some big corporate sponsorship, and nothing materialized. And I could see that things were getting better, and it just didn't have that appeal to me anymore like it did. So it was just a perfect opportunity to wind everything down.
And you mentioned that you kind of got away from the sport for a while and didn't attend much, but then you slowly kind of worked your way back in, and now you've been helping out a young driver named Tommy Barrett for a little while. Talk about how that all came about and a little bit about what actually the relationship is there.
Well, I mean, I know who he was. I watched him race in the SK Lights, and he was pretty impressive, but it's still SK Lights. I mean, that's pretty lower division compared to the Modified Tour. And he moved up to the next step, which was the MRS Series, Modified Racing Series. And that's like in between SK car and Modified Tour car. And I happened to be watching a racing on the computer, and it was Seekonk, and he was towards the back, and all of a sudden I see his number moving up. And I mean, I don't know him, but I said, the kid's 17 years old. That's pretty good. Could come in third. So it was like, hey, I was happy for him. I didn't know him, but I was happy for him that he came in third. And during the week, another friend of mine called me up and says, well, you know, you think that Barrett's such a good race driver. He ended up getting fined $150 and put on probation for rubbing into the second and third and fourth place car to come in third. I said, are you kidding me? I said, he didn't wreck anybody, and anytime on a short track when you're passing, there's going to be rubbing.
Sure.
So I went off on a tangent and did an expose about the racing and on my Facebook page about the racing in this day and age, you know, with the no-touch rule. And so the next race that I went to was Star Speedway. There was an open competition race, and I happened to be the Grand Marshal. And I was talking to Michael Stefanik, and he was parked next to Tommy Barrett. I didn't know Tommy. I didn't know any of them guys. And two fellas come over and got into conversation with me. They were old-time 44 fans. And from reading my Facebook page, they thought that I knew Tommy Barrett. And I said, no. They attended the race at Seekonk, and they were telling me how the kid was the whole show and how disappointed they were that, you know, that series was taking it out on him for passing cars. And they said to me, you know, could you introduce us to Tommy Barrett? I said, I don't really even know him. You know, I just wrote that because I thought it was wrong what they did. And he was standing in the back of this trailer. He was a 17-year-old kid. It was like I hollered over. I said, yo. I said, are you busy? And he's looking around, and it's like he points to himself. I said, yeah, you are. You busy? And he says, and he shook his head. No, like that. And I said, well, can you come over here? And it was like he hesitantly come over, and I said to him, I said, you know, well, why are you so hesitant? And the two guys that were standing there said, hey, we're at Seekonk. And Tommy goes, yeah. Oh, well, we watched your race. And he goes, really? Yeah. And he goes, and they said, yeah, we were in the pits after when they were all hollering at you. And Tommy said, well, that's what I thought you guys were going to do, holler at me about Seekonk. And he said, no, your whole show. I mean, we really thought you did a great job. And then his spotter come over, who's now the spotter for Dave Blaney last year and will be for J.J. Yaley this year.
Okay.
Tommy Bowen. Now he come over and said, you know, we want to thank you for sticking up for us. And we ended up, you know, getting a conversation. I was a Grand Marshal that day, and we sort of hit it off pretty good. Went over, you know, kids, oh, geez, will you come watch me time trial? You know, he goes out and he time trials fourth. I mean, they had a loaded field of cars. It was an open competition, big money race, 10 grand win. And he time trial fourth. He ended up getting a jingle in the race, and they said, oh, well, man, we come and watch this race. So the next race was Stafford. It rained out, And me and my buddy John Holland, he owns the New England Racing Fuels. We go to races a lot, and together. And so we go to Lee Speedway, and it's MRS race time. He's going to be racing. So anyways, I hung out with them in the pit area, and I give them some pointers about Lee, because it's really abrasive racetrack. Pointers that I got from my guy, my tire guy, used to be Brian Brady, Joe Brady's son. So anyways, the kid did perfect. I mean, he saved his tires, pitted, flipped the right side tires, and he's in the back of the field, and here he comes. And it's like, I'm watching him come through the field, and I'm saying, this would be awesome if this kid finished top 5. I mean, he's a 17-year-old kid at Lee, which is really a tough race. It's abrasive as hell. And he's coming through the field, and he never stops. He gets to the leader, and the leader was in Art Berry's car, John McKennedy, who's the champion, defending champion. And he battled. I'm telling you, it was so impressive. Tommy's trying to go around him, and John McKennedy knows, he knows what he got to do to win a race, and he got Tommy where he couldn't get around him, and Tommy crossed him over out of 2 and sent it into 3, and they tangled.
Oh boy!
It was like the shot heard round the world, because all hell broke loose. Tommy and John McKennedy tangled. There was a gigantic pile up behind them, and from that day on, everybody knew who Tommy Barrett was.
Yeah.
They ended up throwing him out of that race, blaming him for the accident, which you really couldn't see because it was behind the trailers. I couldn't see it anyways. And I did talk to some people that did see it later, and one of them was the fellow that owned the track, Red McDonald, and the other fellow was John Allen from New England Racing Fuels.
Sure.
They said the kid did nothing wrong. The bottom of the racetrack was wide open. He put the car in there, and they tangled. Obviously, John McKennedy come down. Tommy might have went up. I don't know. He had the GoPro in the car, and on Monday morning, I have some influential people that found out ahead of time that they were throwing the kid out for 2 races, which is the whole month of July, and I felt it would be better for him to hear it from me than from them, so I called him up and told him, and I said, they're going to throw you out for 2 weeks. And it was like, that was the most emotional that kid ever was. And I said to him, don't worry about it. We're going to make positives out of this negative. I promise you. I said, they're going to be racing at some off-the-wall track. I said, and we are going to get garage tags. We are going to be in the Cup garage. Well, they're racing in front of 500 people. You're going to be where we're going to help your career in the Cup garage and meeting influential people. Well, we're going to make positives out of this. And it worked out real good.
That's great.
Okay, you threw them out, not a problem. Okay, we were in the Cup garage. We met a lot of people, and matter of fact, his spotter got through a good friend of mine, Mike Kalanoff, who's a spotter for Roush Fenway. He was Kansas spotter at the time. They took the kid in, brought him up on top of where the spotters were, introduced them to everybody, and the end result was the kid ended up getting a full-time job at Tommy Bowen's. And Tommy Barrett met a lot of influential people that's helped him along in his racing. So they threw the kid out. In the long run, the kid won. Believe me, he won in spades because he's going to be driving on a modified tour this year. And if it's one of the best, if it's the best, if not one of the best rides on a modified tour, driving for the Robert B. Auer company and fully sponsored. It's got the best of everything, and he's going to be racing in Daytona in February and New Smyrna. So I would say he won.
Yeah, it certainly sounds it, and we had him on the show a little earlier, and he was real excited about the opportunity to race the 22 and to be going to Speed Weeks to compete down there. Of course, that's always a tremendous week of racing, and he just really seems very excited about this year, and it's good to see that. And you've obviously been around through a lot of the evolution of the division and the Whelen Modified Tour into what it is now, and it's good to see that a driver like Tommy is able to still get himself into a position
to to have an opportunity like he's got this year in that car.
Oh yeah, that for sure. I mean, it's a dream come true, to be honest. And I'm pumped. He's pumped. Everybody's really pumped. It's a great race team. They got one of the best crew chiefs, Brad LaFontaine, been around those race cars, builds them, maintains them, services them for a lot of people. So it's really, it's a great opportunity for an 18-year-old kid to be in the position he's in right now.
Certainly is, and we certainly hope that he makes the best of it and is able to have a great season. And I know that he's going to be pretty stoked to be heading south here very soon. Mario, can't thank you enough for all of the time that you've taken with us this evening. You have the honor of being the longest interview in the history of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. You definitely have sent us into overtime here, doing some extra laps, but we're thankful for it. And I want to personally, as a longtime fan of the modified division, thank you for the memories and all of the hard work and everything that you put into your effort all of those years, and the memories that you allowed to be made for all of us who enjoyed watching the 44 car and all of its drivers. We're glad to see that you're still a part of it, and certainly hope that you and Tommy enjoy a great season this year.
Well, Tom, like I said, I really appreciate you having me on, and anytime I can help you out, don't hesitate to call. And I want to thank you again.
That's Mario Fiore, and we're going to come back and wrap things up with some modified news here on tonight's elongated Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. We'll be back. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at RaceChaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by RaceChaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker sitting down for some motorsports conversation here tonight from the late model and modified worlds. And I have to slip this in because it is one of the most important weekends in January, Tom. A lot of eyes focused on the Chili Bowl this weekend. I know normally on Thursday nights we don't talk much open wheel competition, but Kevin Swindell, who we have seen run part-time in the NASCAR and ARCA ranks over the past couple of seasons, and a 4-time defending winner of the Chili Bowl, breaking news out of the Tulsa Expo Center, he has DNF'd in his heat race. After starting on the pole, puts him in a lot of trouble with passing points. He's going to have to come from a long way out to try to qualify in. He's going to have to be in the top 3 to transfer automatically to Saturday's A main. He's got a provisional to fall back on if he needs it, but what looked like it was going to be a very short night for Kevin Swindell as far as starting on the pole and driving away just like he has the past 3 years on his qualifying night. Not so this year. Kevin Swindell going to have a long road to haul. He's going to have to go from about 24th to the top 3 if he wants to have a guaranteed starting spot for Saturday night.
That is a big development out of Tulsa, but you know what? If there is anybody in that nearly 300 car field that is capable of going from 24th to at least 3rd and making it into the A-Main, it is Kevin Swindell. So we shall see how that goes. Tough break for Kevin, and we talked about it on Tuesday. Just an extraordinary amount of luck and circumstances have to come together, and for the Swindells to have dominated most of the last 10 years out there, just an incredible run, really, and the odds of it are just mind-boggling. Kevin's luck finally running out, at least for the moment, but certainly capable of getting himself back in, so we shall see. Meanwhile, back closer to home, we got some modified news going on that we want to get in before we throw the checkered flag on tonight's program tonight.
Yeah, we do, Tom. Courtesy of our traveling co-host Kyle Souza. NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour officials announced earlier this week that Mr. Rooter will return as the sponsor of the Waterford Speed Bowl event for 2014. That event the last couple years has saluted legendary modified champion Richie Evans. It'll be once again the Mr. Rooter Richie Evans Memorial 161. We were talking a couple weeks ago before the holiday break about the Wayne Darling number 52 team, Tom. You and Kyle were discussing the 52 team after Doug Coby stepped away to take over the number 2 Smariglio ride for 2014, and everybody was wondering who was going to jump into that number 52 car. Answer, Matt Hirschman. Money Matt going to be part-time with the Darling 52 camp for 2014, and as Kyle has said many, many times, and as we've watched many, many times, Money Matt, if the stakes are high and he's got the equipment, he's going to be challenging for a checkered flag. Great pick by the Darling team. Not surprising, certainly, but Matt Hirschman going to have quality equipment to search for a couple of tour victories in 2014.
Yeah, they went way out on a limb with that one, didn't they? Anytime you put Matt Hirschman behind the wheel of a race car, it's to the front. That's a great team. And hopefully the chemistry will be there. I'm sure it will. But that's definitely going to be fun to watch whenever Matt steps in to the Darling 52 car. Also, just kind of a note to think about, the Daytona Battle at the Beach next month. Starting to kind of take on a little bit of a slow form. A lot of the New England teams are saying now that they're not going to be going to the cost and the far trips. It's going to be interesting to see how many teams come out of the New England area to run the Battle of the Beach down there, but we'll have to keep an eye on the modified car count. That is a long trip for those guys, and certainly not an inexpensive venture.
No, it's certainly not, but you know, that pains me to hear a little bit. Certainly after the incredible show we saw during the inaugural running last year, Steve Park taking the victory after Mike Stefanik got turned on the final lap. You saw some of the great northern teams have very strong showings down there last February, and I hate that a lot of them are not going to be making the return trip for 2014 because I just have a feeling that if last year was any indication, this February's event going to be just as spectacular. It'll have to be interesting to see how many of the top 10 that we had from last year going to return for the 2014 edition. I've heard rumblings that Steve Park's going to be back to defend his victory in a second Smariglio car. We'll have to wait and see what happens come Speed Weeks, but it'll certainly be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Will. The Seacon Speedway has been the subject of a really interesting rumor over the last couple of months or so that they were going to run an SK modified race on a monthly basis at the track in 2014. Seacon Speedway officials say, not true, wrong answer, not happening, no SK modified monthly racing at the Seacon Speedway this year. I'm actually a little disappointed about that too. I would have thought that would have been interesting to see that. And on a non-modified note, former pro stock champion Jeff Zenema stepped down from his position at the Thompson Speedway. No word as to his replacement. All of that from Kyle Souza. Thanks, Kyle, for passing that along to us. Kyle will be back in the co-host chair, I believe, next Thursday for the Stock Car Steel Motorsports Show, and we are trying to line up Joe Ryan Osborne for next Thursday. You alluded earlier in the show, Jacob, to the fact that he is now going to compete in all of the Whelen Southern Modified Tour events, so we're going to see if we can't line him up for next Thursday and get the official word on exactly what's going on with Joe Ryan Osborne this season.
Yeah, we are. I've worked on tracking him down as we've been going through the show tonight, actually. We're looking to get some word on him here about the first of the week and see if we can't get a couple more details ironed out as far as to exactly how that team's going to take shape for 2014. I'm excited to hopefully get the chance to talk with them. Before we go off air, Tom, I just want to make you smile here real quick before we go. The betting pool that we had for Tuesday night on Motorsports Madness, you're looking pretty good right now because you didn't stick with all the normal people and go with Kevin Swindell. Instead, you singled out Christopher Bell on Tuesday night. That heat race that Kevin Swindell went out of and DNF'd, Chris Bell won that heat race. So just a little FYI, we may be paying up here at the end of the weekend.
Well, you're going to have to split that between DJ Everett and I, because both of us talked about Chris Bell. So to be fair, we're going to have to split those chips. Of course, we never actually wager with real money here on this family show on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaser Online. And that brings out the checkered flag for tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report, and not a moment too soon. This show, of course, is Speed 77 Radio RaceChaser Online production, and you can hear it in podcast form beginning 24 hours after the broadcast ends by going to RaceChaser Online's YouTube channel. We are also planning to make the move over to Shoutcast sometime very soon and are hoping to be available on iTunes platform as well. So definitely a lot in the works here for the Speed 77 Radio RaceChaser Online family of podcast shows, which will be multiplying as we get into the 2014 season. Stay tuned for that. You can, of course, join Jacob Seelman and me, along with our cast of characters, every Tuesday night. Actually, every Monday night, beginning next week at 7 p.m. We start back on Monday nights with the Motorsports Madness Show, 7 o'clock, a full hour of news and conversation from all over the motorsports world. And, of course, we will be back here next Thursday, 7 o'clock, with Kyle Souza and myself, and Jacob as well, on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. So until Monday, when we come back with Motorsports Madness at 7 Eastern, I'm Tom Baker, inviting you to check out StockCarSteel.com and SRI-supplies.com for all your racing needs. And, of course, for all the news of the day in motorsports and a lot of unique audio and driver content, your first choice for short track news and driver interviews on the web is RaceChaserOnline.com and our companion Speed 77 Radio. For Jacob Seelman and Kyle Souza, I am Tom Baker. So long, everyone, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the Chili Bowl. Bye-bye.